Okay, here's a thought. What if the secret to making people interested in a complex topic isn't talking more, but actually knowing precisely when to shut up?
That is such a key point. It's the ultimate paradox of sharing knowledge, isn't it? And it's exactly what we're diving into today.
Welcome back to the deep dive. Look, our mission today is super practical. We're looking at sources that really break down how to have an effective, curiosity-driven conversation.
Yeah.
So if you're sitting on some, amazing insights, maybe about money, tech, whatever, but find your passion just pushes people away, this is for you. We're
Mm.
using this framework, sometimes called the art of orange pilling, which is really just a catchy term for sharing complex ideas, often like Bitcoin, to get at some universal communication truths.
Right. And the source material we're looking at, it kicks off with this really honest admission of failure. The author basically says they used to be the worst kind of evangelist. Well, they'd go full-on preacher, right? Just passionately lecturing folks about um, unpayable debt, broken monetary systems,
Hmm.
thinking all those facts would somehow convert people.
And I bet I know how that went down.
Oh, total shutdown. Yeah. Instant defensiveness,
Mm.
eyes glazing over, just complete information overload. The passion wasn't inspiring anyone. It's just overwhelming.
Yikes. So, what was the big shift?
The fundamental truth they landed on, the thing that changed everything, was actually pretty simple. The best conversations, the most effective ones, are the ones the other person starts.
Okay, let's unpack that, because that implies a huge shift in the goal, right? You're not aiming for conversion anymore.
Exactly.
You're just trying to, plant a seed of curiosity?
You got it? Nurture curiosity. And that takes some serious ego checking, a real change in how you approach things.
Which leads us nicely into the first big mindset shift we need to make. We have to ditch the approach that clearly doesn't work.
Right. First step,
Uh,
identify and dump the lecturer mindset.
the lecturer, the let me tell you everything I know approach.
Precisely. It's ego-driven. The all-knowing preacher thing. It treats the conversation like a one-way street, just unloading this fire hose of facts at the listener.
Yeah, that serves the lecturer's ego, maybe, but it completely ignores the person on the receiving end, their capacity, their needs.
Totally ignored. It just leads to that awkwardness, that failure we talked about.
So if we ditch the lecturer role, what are we stepping into instead? What's the successful alternative?
We need to become the Sherpa. Think of that as like a guiding analogy.
Okay, a Sherpa.
Yeah, Sherpa doesn't stand at the base camp and lecture you about Everest, right? They walk alongside you.
Right.
They help you navigate the tricky bits, step by step, adapting to your pace, the path you want to explore. Their whole goal is just to serve the person learning, to help them on their journey.
That makes so much sense. It reminds me of, the best teachers I ever had back in school. They didn't just recite facts. They asked that one question or sparked something that made me want to go digging for the answer myself. That seems like the Sherpa goal, sparking that genuine self-driven curiosity.
Exactly. That's the essence of it.
Okay, so we've got the Sherpa philosophy, but how do we actually start? We can't just stand around passively forever hoping someone asks. We need some practical skills here.
Yes, definitely. And the very first practical skill is adopting the doctor's mindset.
Okay, the doctor metaphor, where the focus is all on diagnosis first before you even think about treatment.
You nailed it. A good doctor, they spend, maybe 80% of their time just listening, asking probing questions to really get the full picture of the pain before they even touch a prescription pad.
Right.
The mistake the enthusiastic expert, the Bitcoin preacher in our source example makes, is being the bad doctor, pushing the medicine, the solution, before the patient even trusts the diagnosis.
And that's the absolute crux of it, isn't it? If they don't trust your diagnosis of the problem, why on earth would they take your medicine no matter how amazing you think the cure is?
Never going to happen.
Yeah.
So your first job isn't prescribing, it's listening, building trust, identifying the actual pain point.
How do you do that without sounding like you're leading them somewhere specific?
Well, instead of starting with jargon, like let's talk inflation rates,
Yeah.
you listen for a universal feeling. The source suggests something simple, relatable, like asking, hey, do you ever feel like you're on a financial treadmill, running faster than ever but barely making ends meet?
Yeah. That lands immediately because almost everyone feels that on some level. It taps right into a shared experience. That feeling becomes the entry point.
And even then, you don't jump in with your pet topic. You act like a good clinician. You go deeper. Wow, how does that feel? Tell me more about that. And then Crucially, to build even more trust and show you're not some kind of fanatic, you actually explore other potential solutions with them first. Maybe real estate, maybe gold, maybe just tweaking their current investment plan.
Oh, that's clever, because it shows you respect where they're coming from, that you're not just a one-trick pony pushing your thing.
Exactly. It proves you're not just trying to shoehorn your answer in. Only then, after all that listening and trust building, do you offer that really soft, low-pressure invitation. Something like, I've actually been exploring your complex topic as maybe a tool for this exact problem.
Yeah.
Happy to share a bit more if you're ever curious.
Diagnose, build trust, leave the door gently open, no pressure.
That's the foundation.
Mm-hmm.
And step two, once you have that diagnosis and maybe a flicker of curiosity, is resisting that massive urge to just dump the truckload of facts.
Right. This is where most passionate people totally blow it, myself included sometimes. You get excited, they show a hint of interest, and bam, fire hose.
Happens all the time. But this bridge Sherpa really starts to guide, using questions, not just monologuing. The aim is to ask things that help the other person arrive at their own conclusion.
Because, like we said, an insight they discover feels 100 times more powerful than a fact you just tell them.
Infinitely more powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's walk through a couple of scenarios from the source on how to guide them to that aha moment. Scenario one, maybe the barrier is a really fixed worldview. Say you're talking to a smart, seasoned business owner. Instead of hitting them with jargon, you might start way back, asking a really foundational question like, what actually is value? How do we decide something has value?
Okay, so you're exploring the concept together.
Yeah. And by talking it through, they might come to the realization that value is largely about perception, about consensus, about belief. You haven't even mentioned digital assets or anything specific.
But their own thinking has maybe cracked the door open just enough for them to consider something like digital value later on because they arrived at the underlying principle themselves.
Exactly. Okay, scenario two. A more complex, abstract topic like inflation or monetary dilution. Big, scary concepts.
Right, easy to lecture about, hard to grasp intuitively.
So instead of lecturing, you use a really relatable analogy, maybe from their own business life. The source suggests asking a colleague something like this. Okay, imagine we co-own a company. 50-50 split. Simple enough?
Yep, got it.
Now, what if one day I just decide to print 1 million new shares in our company and I give them all to myself? You still have your original shares, but now I own way more of the company. How would you feel about that?
I'd be furious. That's completely unfair dilution of my ownership. Immediate no.
Right, an immediate visceral no, and then you deliver the quiet punchline. Well, in a way, that's kind of what's happening to the value of our savings every time more currency gets printed.
Okay, wow. You've guided them straight to a new perspective using their gut feeling about fairness. No macroeconomics lecture needed.
And you've prompted the perfect follow-up question, the one you wanted them to ask all along. Wait, what do you mean by that? Now they're genuinely curious.
That leads us perfectly into the final discipline, which sounds like the hardest one. Resisting the urge to follow up that brilliant insight with 5 more facts. We're talking value over volume.
Absolutely. That's the fatal mistake, isn't it? Unleashing the fire hose right when you've made progress. The solution, the discipline, is providing value over volume. The source calls this the single seed principle.
Okay, the single seed principle. Tell me more.
Your goal isn't to give them the whole garden, let alone the whole farm. It's to plant one single powerful seed of an idea, something that reframes their problem in a new light.
Can you give us the killer example of that single seed?
Sure. So after they've shared that frustration, that feeling of being on the financial treadmill, running hard but going nowhere, you don't offer a solution yet. You offer a quiet revelation, a reframing. You might say something like, it sounds like what you're saying is that the value of your time is being stolen by something you can't even see.
Wow, time theft.
Yeah.
That's powerful. It gives that huge invisible problem, inflation, dilution, whatever, a really tangible human name they can actually feel and internalize.
Right. It's an idea that can stick with them, make them think, make them genuinely curious about what's really going on, and if there is a way to stop it, that's the seed.
And then silence.
And then comes the absolute hardest step for anyone passionate about their topic.
Yeah.
Nurturing that seed with silence. That silence isn't empty. It's not awkwardness. It's crucial processing time. It's the space where they wrestle with the idea, consider its weight, let it sink in.
Okay, but this is where I feel compelled to offer the crucial challenge, the contrarian take, if you will.
Go for it. Lay it on us.
Right. So while this Sherpa farmer model, this planting a seed and nurturing with silence, it sounds incredibly powerful and probably is the most effective way long term. But it demands immense emotional discipline, right? And a significant time investment.
No doubt.
So for our listener who, let's be honest, often values speed and efficiency, it raises a tough question. Is it always feasible for the average busy person to wait patiently for that seed to sprout? Or does the sheer volume of information today, the pace of everything, sometimes require, maybe, providing one specific foundational fact, even if it risks sounding a bit like a lecture, just to accelerate things a little?
That is the ultimate tension, isn't it? Patience versus efficiency. It's a real dilemma. The source material definitely leans into patience, arguing that emotional safety is paramount for genuine discovery. Rushing can feel like pressure.
True.
And the way you manage that tension, perhaps, is by gently watering that seed after the silence. Not with more facts, but with an empathetic check-in that's totally focused on them. Something simple like, how does that idea resonate with you? Or
Right.
how does that make you feel?
And their answer tells you everything. Whether the seed landed, whether they need more time, or maybe, just maybe, the conversation for today is actually complete, it ensures you don't overstay your welcome and might get invited back later.
Exactly. You leave them thinking, not overwhelmed.
Okay, this has been a fascinating breakdown of communication anatomy. So to pull it all together for everyone listening, the journey starts as a doctor.
Right. Listening intently, diagnosing the real pain point before you even hint at a cure, building that trust.
Then you shift gears, become the Sherpa, walking alongside, guiding with questions, not pushing your own agenda, helping them discover.
And finally, you finish as a patient farmer, planting just one single powerful seed, that reframing idea, and then having the discipline to nurture it with silence, letting it sprout on its own time.
So if you take just one thing away from this deep dive, let it be this. It's fundamentally not about your passion or your ego. It's about reducing the emotional friction for the learner.
Yeah, adopting a big new idea, especially something complex, it's an emotional journey as much as an intellectual one. Your role as the guide, the Sherpa, is simply to make the space feel safe enough for their own curiosity to grow.
Which leads us to our final provocative thought for you to mull over. If your real goal is to guide effectively, but you find yourself always being the one doing the talking, what crucial feedback loop, the other person's genuine emotional and intellectual response, are you maybe preventing yourself from ever actually hearing?
Oof. Good question to sit with.
Indeed. Well, if you found this deep dive valuable, please do follow, like, and share the show. It really helps others find us.
And for more insights on these kinds of topics, you can find the author's work we discuss, What Bitcoin Taught Me, across all the major platforms. That's Twitter X, Nostr, Bluesky Threads, Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Lots of places to keep learning.
Absolutely. We'll catch you on the next deep dive.